One day, you're calmly having toast for breakfast, and watch out! GTA 6 leak! A blurry video recorded by a mole at Rockstar at the monumental quality of 144p. And you start watching it. God, how bad it looks, but how good it looks, but how bad it looks. And when you realize you're watching it with the same excitement you used to reserve for porn when you were a teenager. Welcome to the thrill of the forbidden, the dirty, the adrenalinic. I don't even know if that word exists. Welcome to the pornography of the hype. That's how we are. That's how the human brain works. Psychology is wild. We see a button that says do not touch. And damn, your brain starts activating the monkey brain. Bum, 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 bum. And after a few seconds, you think, man, I have to press the button or I'll drop dead right here. When you download a game or program and there's a file that says read me, you don't. But if it said do not read, you would take a microsecond to go open that file. And why? Why that attraction to the forbidden, to the hidden? Why do we get tingles from watching leaked gameplay that looks like it was recorded on a Nokia, but we know we shouldn't be watching? Because waiting in a dignified manner is a lie they tell us when we were young. They raise us, telling us that if we have patience, everything will be rewarded. That if you study, you will do well in life. Look, the only truth is that we are mentally attracted to pursue the forbidden. It's the same logic that led Prometheus to steal fire, Pandora to open the box, and you to download a file that say beta GTA 6 from the Pirate Bay. The appeal of leaks doesn't even have to do with the information itself. Do we really care if Link wears or not a new little hat in the next Zelda? If the next Assassin's Creed will be set in Costa del Sol? Well, no, we don't give a shit. What matters is knowing it beforehand, knowing it before others, before the official announcement, before the official trailers, so that when it is announced, you can say, I already knew this, tell me something I don't know yet. Leaks are cognitive cocaine. Brief, intense, destructive, and then they leave you worse off than you were. Our brain is a defective Tamagotchi that doesn't know if it wants love or new batteries. It activates every time we feel like we're crossing a boundary, that we are seeing something we shouldn't be seeing. Like when you were a kid and you spied on a forbidden movie on the Scrambled channel, and between the green lines, you sensed a nipple or an elbow. And it didn't matter. When you saw it, it activated the monkey brain. Bum, 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 bum. The forbidden shines brighter. Like in the times of Adam and Eve, where the forbidden thing was a damn shitty apple, dude. Imagine if the forbidden thing wasn't a fruit, but the bait of Half-Life 3. Well, look, Adam, screw you. I'm going to binge 12 hours with my dear Gordon Freeman. Today, I'm here to talk to you about leaks, but above all, about their consequences. Recently, we've had leaks of GTA 6, the Switch 2 before it was announced, and Oblivion Remastered. And we'll try to analyze the negative consequences, and why not, also positive aspects of these leaks. And besides, I have been able to talk to someone who knew closely one of those involuntary leakers. A leaker who leaked this. The first image of the Suicide Squad game that at the time left the internet in shambles. Not only did it provoke a flood of criticism about the game by confirming it would be a game as a service, but it also caused the game's delay due to the criticism in an attempt to change aspects of the game that didn't matter anyway because it still failed resoundingly. We will be able to understand not only the external consequences of a leak, but also the internal consequences, both for the leaker who got caught and for the colleagues, as well as for the company. Well, that said, let's begin. There are leaks and leaks. Just as there are crimes and crimes. It's not the same to steal a lollipop from a child as it is to steal the hard drive from the Rockstar intern. Although technically both things will end up with someone crying, in one case a child and in the other human resources. Because the most important point of all this, the biggest dilemma with the leaks, is the moral dilemma. And like any dilemma, it is full of contradictions. I admit it, I am all in. I love leaks, rumors, and crazy forum theories. It is so much fun. Like watching Elon Musk playing Path of Exile. Sorry, it is part of the spicy sauce of the industry. It is like watching videos about flat earthers or that Bill Gates implanted a 5G chip in you to find out if you like boobs or asses more. There is a perverse pleasure in someone else's delusion. But within all this, there are hierarchies. There is like kind of an ethical thermometer for leaks, a moral Richter scale to measure the intensity of being a snitch, of being a rat. It's not the same leak that shows you a pixelated screen of Elden Ring 2 as one that publishes internal emails, development models, and even what they ate at the bloody E3 of 2017. That is not passion for video games. That is informational porn. And leaking personal data of workers doesn't make you a digital activist. It turns you into a sociopath with Wi-Fi. The same goes for spoilers, man. You're not revealing secrets of the Vatican. You're ruining the story of a little video game that someone has been writing for years, so then now you go and leak it in a tweet. Are you stupid or what? What do you mean Joel in The Last of Us Part 2 does a line of coke? Now, not all the leaks are the Antichrist. Some have real value. They reveal that a project has been restarted 3 times, that the graphics engine smells burnt, or that the CEO decided to turn a platformer into an open-world game because his 80-year-old nephew said Fortnite was really cool. Leaks that give us an inside view of the chaos, helping us understand the current state of the industry we love so much, and allowing us to see the broken machinery behind the light show. I know it might sound like a self-excuse because it's information that I myself use to make videos. A bit like, no, look, I am not morbid, I just analyze the industry. But I really see it that way. I truly believe it's positive to know the ins and outs of the industry. And then come the intermediate leaks, the ones you don't know if they're good or bad. Like when the date of an announcement leaks, or a leaked image from a Nintendo Direct, and now all of Twitter is making memes about how F-Zero has finally returned, but it remains irrelevant. On one hand, you want to know it now, as soon as possible. But on the other hand, it's like seeing a birthday cake before the surprise party. And here, I need to open one of these quite large parentheses. When GTA 6 was leaked, everyone, absolutely everyone, media, forums, Twitter users, Reddit, wanted to give their opinion on what had been leaked about the most anticipated game of the last decade. Debates about theories, details, analysis of each frame. We all knew there would be a main couple before the first official trailer came out. Then, there were other subsequent leaks, like the Wolverine game, which just like GTA 6, was through a hack. And many media outlets refused to talk about these leaks for moral reasons. For example, GameSpot or Andy Robinson from VGC. I don't intend to judge this decision. If you don't want to, in fact, I respect it, and I think it's quite healthy to have a clear red line. So, if you decide not to cover leaks obtained through hacking, that is perfectly fine with me. But then, why do you cover the GTA 6 leaks? Why do you cover the Capcom ransomware hack where release dates and strategic plans were leaked? What I mean is that the game of leaks doesn't allow for half measures. Either you get in or you don't. You can't specify which part you cover. For example, not spreading workers' data because that's not just immoral, it's illegal. But once you decide to talk about leaks, you're playing in that arena. You can't close your eyes and pretend something does not exist. But if something has shown us the Streisand effect, it's that if something explodes on the internet, you can't ignore it. The Streisand effect occurs when trying to hide, censor, or remove information has exactly the opposite effect. That information spreads even more and gains much more attention than it would have if it had been ignored. It's called like that because in 2003, the singer Barbra Streisand tried to suppress an aerial photo of her house in California. But by suing those who published it, she generated enormous media interest, making the image go viral. Honestly, I think that even within ethics, there are better ways to do it. You can cover a major leak without giving a platform to sensitive data. You can analyze without exploiting the morbid. You can respect without ignoring reality. Because if not, in the end, you only contribute to those people that are hungry, curious, desperate, ending up diving into the shady forums where all the documents are without filters, context, morals, including those personal data of workers. I understand that you don't want to put the topic under spotlight, but by mentioning it to say that you won't cover it, you're in fact putting it under the spotlight. I am quite a follower of Andy Robinson and his work. I quote him a lot on this channel because I really respect what he does, and I am sure that if I talk to him, he will give me perfectly convincing reasons why he sees the situations completely different. But if you put a foot on the rope, don't complain later about the vertigo. And let's get to the heart of the matter, the consequences, because leaks are not just information that comes out. They're small time bombs that disrupt campaigns, strategies, and sow internal chaos. The most obvious consequence, and the one we all understand at a glance, is the marketing one. I know that many of you couldn't care less about those of us in marketing because you see us as soulless people, and it's true. But you have to understand that games are not presented when they're ready. For example, Silksong. A game is presented when it suits, when it aligns with the fiscal quarter, with the interests of the investors, or with the need to cover up another internal scandal. And a leak ruins that. It ruins the calendar like a bratty kid who opens Christmas presents on December the 15th because I just wanted to look. Yes, kiddo, yes, I just wanted to look, but now your grandmother is crying. Look at what she said. Look how grandma's crying. An unexpected leak can force the company to make announcements ahead of schedule, improvise statements, and play all the cards that were saved for an important event. Companies pay more than $400,000 to show a 2-minute trailer at Geoff Keighley's event. $400,000 for less than that you could buy a house in Ohio. Imagine the irony of all that leaking and poor quality before the event. We have very recent examples. Rockstar hastily and poorly timing the release of the GTA 6 trailer because it had leaked in low quality on the internet. Nintendo with everything about the Switch 2 leaked weeks and months before its official announcement. Moreover, a major leak within a company triggers the same reaction as a silent fart in a lift. Suspicions, tense looks, looks, paranoia, dizziness, internal audits begin, human resources interrogations, passive-aggressive phrases in emails like, "Thanks for sending it. By the way, changing the subject, can you make me a list of all the people who had access to that file?" And that leads to more control, more bureaucracy, more restrictions, and therefore development slows down. Access to the servers is restricted, more NDAs are signed, working in a studio becomes much slower and heavier. Then there's when part of the game leaks early, and when it happens, it's judged prematurely. And people are cruel and stupid, especially stupid, but silly. People see a pre-alpha build recorded and say, "What a piece of crap graphics, it looks like a PS3. But of course, they don't know, in fact, they don't have to know, that this doesn't represent anything. That an ongoing development is not a finished product, and that the most eye-catching graphical part is precisely done in the final part of a development. This happened to GTA 6. The 2022 leak showed a very early version with placeholder textures and polished animations and development assets. And immediately there were thousands of comments saying the game looked cheap, that it seemed like it was from past generations. Exactly the same thing that happened to Wolverine's leak. It's like seeing a photo from the filming of a movie and complaining that the dinosaurs don't look real. Man, don't you see their actors in green pajamas? They're not gonna be in the movie. This also has an economic impact. Due to these reactions, Take-Two's stock fell by 6% on the day GTA was leaked. Imagine if a minute of your birthday was leaked before you got home and that caused your salary to be cut. And the worst, in my opinion, is when the leak is narrative, when the story gets leaked, like what happened with The Last of Us Part 2. Not only did it spark a civil war among fans, but all of this happened while the game was still in development. At least, as a developer, when you finally release it, you say, well, that's it, on to the next thing. But imagine the hassle of still developing a game that is being torn apart on social media at that moment. Of course, I have to mention the craziest case I remember in a video game. The Hiroshima of leaks, Half-Life 2, where a hacker who called himself Osama bin Leaker, and I'm not joking, top best nicks in history, leaked the source code of the beta version of Half-Life 2, which caused, among other things, a 1-year delay. And from the inside, what is it like to experience a leak from the inside? What does it feel like when you're summoned to a Zoom meeting with 6 lawyers and a PowerPoint that says, "Honey, we need to talk"? Let's go with a real case, one that seems written by the writers of The Office, the fateful leak of Suicide Squad. The game was already known to exist or to be in development. It was rumored to be a game as a service, with battle passes, microtransactions, skins, and all that crap disguised as an interactive experience, but it wasn't confirmed until someone, somewhere in the world, uploaded this. An image. Just one image. Enough for the internet to go up in flames and decide that this game was the new Marvel's Avengers, but this time from DC. A deluge of criticism, theories, and nuclear attacks on the already battered reputation of Warner Bros. Games. As I mentioned before, I was able to talk to someone who lived through all this from the inside, from the radioactive core of chaos. Globant. Globant, for those who don't know, is a technology company originally from Argentina that provides, or used to provide, support to half the industry. He has worked with Electronic Arts, Ubisoft, Epic Games, and of course, Warner. One of the roles they took on for Warner was testing, something common in the industry. Testing games is usually outsourced because it's cheaper to pay an intern in Uruguay than a senior in California. And now the moment someone uploads the image in low quality, covering some data but forgetting others, like the changes of the build or attention, the fact that in the upper corner you could read Globant. The author of the leak, a 20-year-old Venezuelan guy, hired as a tester, naive, excited, with an inflated ego and the common sense of a cucumber. And it all starts on 8chan, one of those branches of 4chan on the board Arepa, which is a Venezuelan board. I already told you, this looked like a The Office joke. The guy walks in, introduces himself, a guy from Venezuela who works as a game tester in Uruguay. Ask whatever you want. It's a AAA. It comes out in May. I can't say much, but with these amounts of bugs in those builds, heck, I doubt they would delay it or we'll see another Cyberpunk. But I can say that I test for Warner Bros. He didn't know it, but these words will be the beginning of something big. I guess it's Harry the Filthy Potter, one responds. You were close. That's from another team that I actually wanted to join, but it's already in the final testing phases. By the way, the company I work for is Globant. Oh, well, just in case there were any doubts, you guessed it, it's Suicide Squad. The truth is, the kid wasn't very subtle. A parade of self-incriminations. And since they didn't believe him, he uploads the image, the fateful one. Titled with teenage enthusiasm, it's going to be the new Cyberpunk. Not out of ambition, for bugs. And the best part, the thread turns into a discussion about whether Venezuelans know how to have sex well or not. Humanity compressed into 12 messages, right? Well, and what consequences did all of this have? First, nuclear panic. Warner and Globant find out. Emergency meetings. The entire team of involved testers is summoned, more than 150 people. Human Resources activates Gestapo mode. Warner executives fly to Uruguay. They want to find the culprit at any cost. No one was talking. Everyone suspected. Even the coffee machines were afraid to release steam in case there was confidential special too. Little by little, they narrowed down the circle, and when the origin of the image was finally revealed, they managed to find the culprit. On one hand, Warner no longer trusted Globant and did not renew the contract for future games, which was a hard blow for the company, and a large part of the staff assigned to testing Warner's games, which was almost 300 people, was laid off. Hundreds of people took to the streets over a post on Arepa. Inside the company, the atmosphere becomes tense. Everything gets complicated. Controls, bureaucracy, surveillance are added, and the kid, Warner and Globant, are suing him. Fine of $10,000, which may seem like a small amount if you live in Switzerland, but in Uruguay, that's mortgaging half a decade's salary. All because of a heated moment, for ego, for the need of attention, for wanting to be the one who knows. And I don't blame him entirely, because we all want that. We all want to know. We all want to feel that we have access to something that others don't, that we are someone. But look at it this way. Being someone can cost you being nobody for the next 10 years. The game crashed anyway. It was like trying to avoid a shipwreck by leaking a map. It was a title with a business model and a gameplay proposal doomed to fail, but it has been interesting to see the real consequences of such a leak. The worst part is that a kid paid for it, but the whole staff got the bill. As if when someone breaks a glass, they close the entire bar. And maybe it's unfair to focus only on the tragedy. When that image of Suicide Squad leaked and people went crazy criticizing the monetization system, the mechanics, the battle pass, the broken soul of the project, there was someone in an office who saw it and said, okay, we have a problem. And even though they couldn't fix it in time, even though the result was the same as if you put patches on a pop balloon, the attempt existed because the criticism was anticipated. Leaks, when managed wisely, can be the closest thing to honest feedback. Raw, very blunt, but sincere. The industry rarely listens, but sometimes a leak forces it to do so. And there are good examples that I remember fondly, like Cuphead, which grew in ambition and content precisely because a leak caught the public's attention ahead of time. A game with a retro cartoon aesthetic started to leak, which the audience loved, but on the other hand, they seemed less receptive to it being just a boss rush, that is, fight after fight with bosses, and they decided to delay it to add more content. The creators were up to the task. I will never tire of repeating the absolute masterpiece that Cuphead is. Oblivion Remaster, it was leaked and leaked again before its release. The official website accidentally uploaded images of the game. It was an open secret that it would be a shadow drop, and it was. It came out and it was a success. And that's because those leaks generate conversation. A game trailer you might not pay much attention to, but a game trailer you shouldn't be watching, you definitely pay attention to. Many times, it doesn't even matter if the information is good. It is enough that it activates the circuit. It just needs to awaken an emotion, desire, the rage, the disappointment, but above all, the conversation. Because that's what leaks ultimately generate, conversation. And that's what companies are looking for when they make fake trailers with tons of effects and super epic orchestral soundtracks. Conversation. For people to talk about their game amidst this whirlwind of games that come out every day. And if they achieve it through leaks, it's no small thing, you know? I'm sure that many companies launch trial balloons with certain information to see how the community reacts without taking risks about a possible remake, a possible price increase, a possible rumor. It would be foolish not to take advantage of getting free and risk-free feedback. I believe that leaks in themselves are neither good nor bad. They're simply inevitable, like bugs in the end. We're all in the same cycle. Developers who hide, players who snoop, insiders who hint, and leaks that rewrite the calendar. I believe they will never disappear. The desire to know the forbidden, what should not be known, is an attraction we have there, and it will never be lost. Also, that when the game is presented, you can look at your colleague with pride and condescension and say, "Bah, this was already known! Tell me something I don't know, dumbass!"